Welcome to Fancounters. My name's Nick. Thanks for joining us this week. The Fancounters Celebrity Podcast is one show that you can count on to stay positive. We're going to uplift you, and we're going to be a great start to your weekend, so we're glad you're here. You can follow us on Facebook along with 29,000 of our favorite fans. Just search Fancounters, or if you'd like a more intimate experience, you can search our private group, Sharpie Nation, on Facebook. We also just launched a new Instagram. We are at Fancounters Live on Instagram. And if you have questions, comments, or if you want to suggest a guest we should have on the show, send it along by email. Our email is hello@fancounters.com. Now, every now and then I get a celebrity on the show that after doing the interview, I just feel better about life. And the conversation you're going to hear today made me feel optimistic about our future, not only as humans on this planet, but it just left me very happy. Maybe it's because my guest today, Gregg Daniel, not only met Oprah Winfrey when he played her husband in Desperate Housewives, but we also talk about some of those positive messages that Oprah gives, and I hope that after hearing the show, you'll be ready to do some small things with great love for other people in your life and your community. Gregg Daniel has been on almost every television show imaginable, from Grey's Anatomy, Alexa and Katie, True Blood, Castle, Parenthood, Good Luck Charlie, Weeds, Home Improvement, General Hospital, and even The Amanda Show. His current show is an ABC hit called For Life, and today we go on set and behind the scenes with this iconic actor and share his love of life with you.
Coming to you from nowhere near the entertainment capital of the world, this is Fancounters with Nick and Elizabeth on the Podfix Network.
There was this mob of people, and they're screaming my name.
Crazy fans.
Stop following me. Don't come around my house. If you do, the cops are going to be at yours.
If I'm having dinner with my wife, don't sit down at my table. Don't follow me into the bathroom.
Can I take a picture? Oh my God.
I think this guy wants to fight me. Ended up being a fan.
I'm the only one that's ever been on Sam Jackson and lived to tell about it.
Well, guess what? I have a big surprise for you.
That's why we call it Fancounters.
I don't think you're going to last on the air very long.
Gregg Daniel, welcome to Fancounters. Thanks so much for being here, and happy Juneteenth Day.
Thank you. It's good to be here. And it's also good to recognize this day and the importance of American history and in the United States. I'm just glad people are turning their attention and their eyes on it. There's a lot of celebrations going on, a lot of information online. So I'm especially pleased to be here today, Nick.
Well, thank you. I want to jump right into your career because it is humongous, illustrious, it's varied, and I've got a lot of questions. So I'm going to hit you with the hard stuff right away if you're okay with that.
Sure, I'm good. Give me your best shot, buddy. Give me your best shot.
All right, I looked over the last 30 years in your show business career. Your roles have been very...
Oh, ouch.
I'm not trying to date you or anything.
I only said that because it sounds so long, but it really doesn't seem that long. But okay, I'll accept it. Thanks.
Okay, so you've been in dramatic series, you've been in sitcoms, you've even been in kids shows, heavy-hitting police dramas. You've done it all. If there's a secret to not being typecast, you've certainly figured that out. So what has been your secret to success in these multiple genres of entertainment?
It really comes down to versatility. The more versatile you are, the more you can work as an actor. You can do soaps, you can do episodics, you can do sitcoms. I mean, thank God I was trained in New York. I went to a conservatory program many, many moons ago. But it did give me the basis, the foundation for being able to take any script, whether it's feature, television, industrial, commercial, doesn't matter, and able to break it down in a way that you're doing justice to whoever the character is, whatever the product is. So I really attribute my long-term career, the success I've had, to being able to work in every genre. You've got to develop versatility. Don't get stuck on one thing. So they'll say, oh, well, he's great for episodics. Oh, he does really sitcoms really well. No, you want to be able to go in and knock it out the park in anything. You will work a hell of a lot longer if you can bring in, every time you go in, something very unique and special to that, whatever that genre is. So that was something I'm really pleased at, the fact that I can work. And I go back to the stage. I do stage. I can't do it as often because it requires a lot more time, 4 weeks of rehearsal, 4 week performance. Mm-hmm. But it's a great way to keep the craft sharpened, to go back on stage. Different audience every night, 6 or 7 shows a week. Man, that really keeps you sharp. So I do stage at least once or twice a year if I can.
I've got questions about that coming up too, but along the lines of what we're talking about now, I've talked to a lot of Disney stars and Nickelodeon stars, adult actors, that said that there is a hierarchy. It for sure exists in the entertainment industry where people who are on kids shows, they're kind of looked down upon by their adult drama counterparts. Did you ever experience any of that, like when you were doing those kind of shows, even though you bounced around a lot?
No. No, only because I had a lot more. I had a lot of credits and everything else. I mean, obviously, if you have 15 credits and they're all, I don't know, Disney shows or kids shows, which are great, which are fun, were fun. But because I had such a multitude of different kinds of shows on my resume, even when I did Disney, I tell you what, one benefit of doing Disney was when I started doing a couple of Disney shows, my daughter was very young. Mm-hmm. She knew I was an actor. She had been on set sometimes or movie locations. But it wasn't until I did a couple of Disney shows that suddenly she realized, oh, Dad's an actor. Dad's a legitimate actor. He was in Good Luck Charlie. Hey, Kicking It. Hey. So that was sort of a nice outcome that finally my daughter acknowledged that Dad was a legitimate actor. But no, by the time I did Disney shows, I had a long resume, so it wasn't going to hurt me that I did any kind of shows, especially designed for kids. And let me tell you, those shows are good. They take a kind of technique to do those things too. Mm-hmm. You want to stay real. You want to stay centered. You don't want to ham it up. But it's a comedy. It's a comedy for young people. So you got to find a way in, and it's a craft to that too. So even though you mentioned they may be looked down upon, they're not easy to do. Keeping that energy going, keeping it up take after take, and staying authentic and real, it's a craft to it. So I wouldn't put down soap operas. I've done some soaps, General Hospital. Let me tell you, that's a rough day. They're shooting 40, 50, 60 pages in the day. Seriously. So it's like you do a take and they move on. So you better get it together because you're not going to get 2 or 3 rehearsals. And no. They need to move on. They need to make their day. So once again, it comes down to technique and craft. The more you have, the more you can work and handle yourself in any situation.
I love that. It's so funny that your daughter seeing you on Good Luck Charlie was the reason that she now thinks you're a credible actor.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was just great. Like, Dad does something in front of cameras. I don't know. He dresses funny, he says things, but it wasn't until those shows that she went, wow. And we're proud of it. And I have to mention, and was proud of the fact that Dad was on Good Luck Charlie. So I was glad I could give that to her. But it was a big joke around my house for a while. No matter what I had done, if I had done Othello, if I had done whatever I'd done, nothing mattered until Dad did Good Luck Charlie. And then some other. She was older when I did the network show. What was that? Alexa and Katie.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Alexa and Katie. But by that time, again, she was older and knew what I did. But, I found legitimacy in my daughter's eyes.
Very cool.
From the Disney shows.
Now, growing up in Brooklyn, you were near New York City, one of the best places for someone to really experience the arts. And growing up, you had access to a lot of different material, including Shakespeare's works. What was it? Was it Shakespeare that gave you the acting bug? What drew you to it?
It was Shakespeare. Believe it or not, it's funny you should say that because my father comes from a Caribbean island that used to be a colony of the British. And I only mention that because part of what we had in our home was a Shakespeare variorum, entire works of Shakespeare. And I remember when I was young reading through these, had no idea what the language meant. There's just something about the poetry, just saying it, maybe that. And that was my first sort of exposure to acting. I think my love of language. I developed my love of language just through looking through these strange-sounding words and trying to pronounce them. Then by the time I saw some professional productions of Shakespeare or classical work, I was hooked. I just knew, oh, my God, I was gobsmacked when I saw actors in costumes and in period pieces and a set. I just knew that's what I wanted to do. But being exposed to that, and it's not a bad route to have, the ability to do Shakespeare or classical work, again, it helps your facility. It helps your facility as an actor. I mean, I'm not a snob, but when I speak to an actor, they've never done or heard any kind of Shakespeare, I'm always kind of, wow, you could be a lot stronger if you could speak in iambic pentameter and knew what it meant. Not that it's a necessity, but hey, you want to bring all the colors you can to any role you get. But to answer your questions directly, it was the love of language as embodied in classical work that I found, and then I branched out. But I knew when I saw a professional production that but one time I said, yeah, this is for me. I feel at home here. I want to be part of that world.
Now, this question kind of goes into what you just said about being part of the world. Now, because you've been on so many television shows, was there a particular show that you watched for a long time and before walking on set, and then that moment came when you got to visit the set and almost like it was surreal because you were such a fan and now here you are on set? Did you ever have that moment? And if so, what show?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. It was True Blood. I had a very dear friend of mine. We used to do theater in New York together. Adina Porter is her name. Dear friend of mine. She'd come out to Los Angeles first. Been out here for a while, and she got a role on the Alan Ball show, True Blood, and so I watched it because it was just a wow, what a kick! Werewolves and witches and nomad. Oh my God, and she was terrific on it. So I would watch the show, just thought, this is great. And Alan Ball was a playwright first. He was a playwright in New York. So I knew his work. I'd seen some of his plays. So I thought, what a compliment. And he had done 6 Feet Under by that time. Okay. So by the time I had watched True Blood, I was really taken with it. And then I got a chance to audition for it. And then I was cast as my friend's husband in the show. And then I became a series regular on the show. So talk about wow, what a turn of events. I never thought in watching Adina that I would be there on the show with her, playing her husband, and then wound up becoming a series regular on the show as well. Kismet. It was all just Kismet. But, yeah, that was a great show to work on. I loved working on that show.
And when you're guesting on well-established television shows, I mean, you were on an episode of Home Improvement, you were on several of General Hospital, even Grey's Anatomy. When you start working on an episode with people who are like family with each other, have you always felt welcomed, or do you kind of feel like you're at a party you don't belong to?
99% of the time I feel welcome. I mean, there are classy people out here who, if they're doing shows, they know they're but for the grace of God go I. That they're as talented as anyone else. And so when guest stars, there are people on shows that as soon as you get on there, they will come over, introduce themselves as they needed to, say hi, but they have class. That's the professional way of welcoming another colleague into the fold. Okay, it's your show, you're a regular, I'm only guesting here, but now if I do my best work, it's going to make you look good too.
Right.
So you can either shun me and treat me like, okay, I'm outside of it, that's cool, and I'll come in and I'll do my work and leave. However, if you embrace me in a way and support me in a way, and this goes not just for the actors, but for the director, for the DP, if you all put support under me, I'm going to give a better performance, and you will look better. So, and I would say 99 point. I can remember just a few shows where I was made to feel like, okay, we don't do that. So I just turned professional, stayed in my trailer until it was time to shoot. But the majority of my experience, they have welcomed me, went out of their way to say hi, to make sure I was comfortable, to give me the time on the set I needed to get a good performance. So that I can say in favor of actors. They tend to be a welcoming and a supportive lot of people.
I like hearing that. And, people like me who just work regular, normal jobs, we can only liken that to our first day on the job, or even going back to when we were a child and maybe we switched schools or something like that, where you're the new kid in the class or in the job. Yeah. And sometimes it's hard to get rolling. And when you're only there for a week or two, that's got to be a little bit more difficult. That's why I was wondering.
Yeah. You're exactly right, Nick. I call them the real professionals. I mean, the real professionals, the people who are secure, who've been doing this for a while, they're the ones that it doesn't cost them anything to come over, say hi, embrace you, just make sure you're comfortable, as opposed to those who, maybe a little insecure. Maybe they're a little insecure for that day's shoot or even on the show, or maybe about their career. I don't know. So what they're projecting onto you is this kind of, okay, I need to feel superior because I'm insecure about my work as an actor. Those who are true professionals, who are secure, I guarantee you, they will extend that welcoming hand, that handshake, that kind word after a take. Wow, that was good. Let's try it again. And you go further, So, yeah, it is like that. The true professionals who are secure are going to welcome you and want you to do your best work. Those who are maybe less secure or have problems going on, different agenda, and at this point, no one can make me feel unwelcome. If I got hired, I know I got something. So go through your little shtick or your machinations, but it's not going to deter the work I do. You got to be confident.
Yeah.
You got to be confident.
Now, there's a show out there that we're hoping gets season 2. It's Hank Steinberg's show that he created for NBC called For Life, based on the true story of Isaac Wright Jr., who was imprisoned for a crime he didn't commit, then became a lawyer. Can you tell us about your experience working on For Life? And I heard that this was a project that, once that script came to you, this was one you wanted, right?
Yeah, it was so well written. That character of Easley Barton is what I play. An inmate who's been there unjustly convicted. He's been there for 22 years, and by the time we come up on this character, he's pretty beaten down. I mean, not physically, but just psychologically, mentally. He's been there for a crime he didn't commit. He just feels like the system's used him up. He's not going anywhere. And suddenly the lead of the series, who's played by Nicholas Pinnock, who plays Aaron Wallace, the lawyer, he comes to me wanting to try and reopen my case because he also thinks that I was wrongly convicted. And, of course, part of it is convincing me to even care again, to even have hope that we might reopen the case. Right. And he was just written with such, I don't know, it was just written so well in the dignity that I thought I could bring to this inmate, because while he was down, but wasn't defeated. He just needed a spark, which was someone to believe in him. Plus, the whole show speaks about the prison system in a way that I think is important for us to hear. We, in our nation, we have more prisons and more people incarcerated than anywhere else in the world, and it just brings up why. What are we doing that we keep throwing people in jail, and when they come out, we have a high rate of recidivism, and then they go back into jail. What's wrong with this system here? So, and then 50 Cent is one of the producers on it. So, that story of Isaac Wright Jr., man, it's inspirational. I mean, he was wrongly convicted, studied law while he was incarcerated, actually represented some other inmates while he was there, and eventually won his own freedom when they overturned it because it was a miscarriage of justice. So, yeah, it was just a contemporary issue, prison reform, that spoke to me. That well written. That I said, yeah. There's some of them are special, and this one was special because of the topic, because 50 Cent was involved, because I had such a good actor in Nicholas Pinnock as the lead, and most of our scenes were together. It was this was a special one for me. I was very proud of that, of the work I did on that.
And when you compare the show to other courtroom dramas and stuff, I think what people have really liked about the show is that it feels real, because not everybody fighting for justice is playing fair. They're not all heroes. And, I think it kind of resonates with what might more closely be going on in the real court system. Yeah,
it certainly has struck a chord, because, it's an unfair system. I mean, obviously people of color, people on the lower socioeconomic end of things, they don't get a fair share. And one thing I like to think Americans believe in is fairness. That, everyone, we're testing it now, but everyone should be given an equal chance and be treated equally under the law. I like to think we do have a sense of equality in justice. So if we're not, then we need to look at, well, what is it? Well, why are people being shot who don't have weapons? Why are these miscarriages of justice happening? Is it a systemic racism? What is it? And I think the show brings that up without bludgeoning you over the head with it and making you feel, oh, this is terrible, oh my God, but actually making you think, wow, well, let me think about that. Let's take a look at this. So I think that's the hook with this show, is that it makes you care, draws you in, but it doesn't lecture or preach to you about, we need prison reform, we need this kind of, no. And it seems to have captured some imagination, because it's done well. It's done very well.
Do you think it comes back for season 2? What's your prediction?
Yes. I am definite it will come back. Really. I think from what I've seen and from what I heard, little birdies, I think it will be renewed. I do think it will be renewed. Yeah, it's a good show. Good.
Now, have you ever taken a role and after working on the project, maybe you immediately regretted it? Now, I mean, you don't have to name any project specifically, but has a role had some unintended, maybe unfortunate consequences for you?
Usually I don't take those roles. There have been auditions, and there have been material that's come my way, and I'll take the audition. And I regret taking the audition, or I regret approaching it. There have been those. And it mostly has to do with, it's funny, it's a very simple litmus test I have. Would I want my daughter, to see me in this? Now, it's okay if it's a rough character. I'm not saying that, cussing or whatever, but is this something that I would be proud of my daughter seeing me in? Even if I'm a villain, just to get the if it's stereotypical, if it's patronizing, if it's anything like that, then I pass. And I have passed on things that I went, I see where they're going with this. I don't think it's really done effectively. I don't want to be part of reinforcing that stereotype or that notion. Or I think this is bashing a certain group of people, or sexuality, or gender. If I find that, I've reached a point where I go, I don't want to be a part of approving that or seeing that I approve that. So, because at the end of the day, the job comes and go, but you have to live with, you were part of that system that painted people unfairly, or someone unfairly, a group of people. I will not do that. I have passed on that.
I admire you.
Thankfully so, I have passed on that.
I admire you for having that standard, because not everyone does. And
thank you.
I do the same thing when I take on any kind of job. Is my child going to be proud of me doing that? And if I can't say yes, why would I want to do it?
How old is your child?
I have twin 8-year-olds, and they're playing loudly upstairs, so I'm sure it's bleeding onto the audio.
Oh my God! Are you getting any sleep at all? Do you get any sleep at all?
We didn't in the first few years, but at 8, they sleep pretty well now.
And I think what you just say has to do with having a family. When you suddenly have a family, when you're a family man, father, whatever, it's more than just you in the world. Mm-hmm. Suddenly, you're looking at these two kids, or one kid, or how many children you have, who are looking up to you, who are looking for you for values and guidance. And so you want to pour into them everything that gives them a better chance in the world. And so you think beyond yourself when you have a family. I'm not preaching that everyone has to have a family, but I know when I became a parent, suddenly it wasn't just about me anymore. Right. So the kind of portrait that I put out there that a child will ultimately see, because she watches television and features and whatnot. So yeah, it does change, doesn't it, when you I think it changed when you become a parent. You don't think just about you, but what effect is my work going to have, or the legacy that I'm going to have with my children? I think that's important.
Definitely.
I think that's important.
Now, the hook of Fancounters is I want to hear about some real-life encounters that you've had with your fans. So think back over your career. Do any situations come to mind where maybe you were approached by a weird, odd, or crazy fan, or maybe just had a really good encounter?
I got to say, True Blood had the most ardent fans in the world. And part of it is we wouldn't announce where we were shooting. We shot a lot on location. We had a soundstage, but a lot of it was on location. And I don't know how they got it. I don't know if it leaked. I don't know what. But they would show up. We were shooting someplace 100 miles away from L.A., literally. We were shooting in Santa Paula. And there was a small crew of us there. And we got there, and there were people who were there. Wow. And I would run into them, and the thing is, and they were really well behaved. Don't get me wrong, these weren't rowdy fans. They could tell me more about the show and the genesis of the show than what I knew. They would go into, when Suki did this, and I'm listening like, oh, don't remember that, or was I here for that? Did I start on okay, really? So they would educate me on what was going. They were so ardent. They followed it so well. So the ability to show up and just be there, but they drew the line too. They also knew when we went to work, we went to work. So they weren't trying to distract us. They weren't trying to touch us or grab us. No, they were really polite. But I was always stunned at how much they knew about the show and how much they knew where we're going to be. That always it's 6 a.m. in the morning. What are you people doing here? We have jobs, but That's always, and I've also denied it a few times. Sometimes I've been out in an airport and people will come up to me and they seem a little sketchy, and they'll say, "Oh, you're the one on that," and I have to admit, Nick, I'll say, "No, aren't you?" No.
You're mistaken.
I look like someone, but I think I might look like him because I've heard this before. But because I just knew, oh God, this is trouble. I mean, they're just a little too enthusiastic, a little too grabby, touchy, a little too. So I flag it, and if they don't know 100%, and they go, "Aren't you? Didn't you?
Yeah.
Haven't you?" No. I teach, and no. So
that's funny.
I also have to. Hey, you have to protect yourself sometime, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So sometimes they'll go the other way as well. But my fans, in general, it's been really fun. They've always been enthusiastic and supportive. They know so much about the show. So I've enjoyed meeting fans. When I go to premieres and things like that. I haven't found any of them to be, obnoxious or this is way too much or needed protection from them.
Right.
Nothing like that. If you engage them in a conversation, I find they have intelligent things to say. Thank them. I thank them, in fact, for being interested.
So you've never had a stalker?
No, but I've had some friends. I was coming out of a party one night with a friend of mine. I won't mention her name. She is definitely a star. Mm-hmm. And we got down to the garage, and these two guys approached us. They just wanted her autograph. They wanted her autograph, but just the way they sort of met us in the garage area. Nobody else was there. We just came from a premiere or something like that, and it could be interpreted as stalking because they just popped out of nowhere with their pick photos of her and their pen. And I knew the first thing they were going to do was get the picture and sell it on eBay. I knew that was the first thing they were going to do.
Yeah.
This is for profit. So I think there's a difference. When it's for profit, when they're motivated by profit, because you can take this and put it up on eBay and sell it, it's a little less friendly and warm maybe. It's more like a business transaction. You know, you need to sign this. You need to acknowledge this because I'm going to make some bucks off of this, rather than, wow, really admire your work on that show. Really, it just, you know, we spent time watching it, my husband and I, or my wife and I. But that was a danger. That felt dangerous to me because I looked around and I saw, where did these guys come from?
They were waiting.
What do they have on them? What is the story with? It was scary. It was genuinely scary because they didn't seem like your typical, if there's such a thing, fan. And as I was telling you, I think they were just driven by, let me get these photos signed, and I'm going to make a mint off these. I'm going to sell these to TMZ or to Inquirer or wherever I can. That's a big difference. And that was scary. Once we gave them the picture, we signed the picture, and then we got the hell out of there.
No kidding.
Oh, yeah, we did.
I don't blame you. Turning the tables a little bit, have you ever worked with somebody that you've been starstruck around that you just couldn't wait to meet and work with?
Yeah. I got a chance for Winfrey. She was a big fan of Desperate Housewives. Pardon me.
You kind of cut out, and I want to make sure everybody heard. You did say Oprah Winfrey, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay, the name
Oprah
dropped,
Winfrey,
and I was like, wait a minute, I got to make sure I know who we're talking about. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, we're talking about Oprah, and she flew in special to do this episode of Desperate Housewives. And I got cast. They called me and they said, "Listen, we need someone to play a husband." I just got it on. I had done I think I did some episodes. So meeting and working with her, it was a quick turnaround because she flew in from Chicago. She brought some of her hair people, her makeup people, and she had like fly out the next day or two. No, she was doing some interviews and then she was flying out the next day or so. So working with her, we got a real solid, long day of working together. And of course, I admire Oprah. Who doesn't? And it was an absolute delight. It was an absolute delight to work with her that day. She worked hard. You know, you think, I'm Oprah Winfrey. She wanted to get the values of the scene as much as anyone else. We had a ball working together. I had such a good time. And she treated everyone with respect. And she took the craft seriously. I mean, we would run things and we would, you know, really talk to each other. It was a pleasure. And it was great to see someone on that level, the Oprah, still have the integrity to want to get it right. She was professional. She just wanted to get it right, make sure she gave a good performance. So that was a thrill. That was a thrill to work with Oprah Winfrey.
I'm going to tell you something I've never admitted before, but when Oprah Winfrey did her last talk show, the last 5 or 10 minutes or so was just her talking to the audience. And I have that recording on my desktop on my laptop, and anytime I get discouraged or just need some advice, I will play that 10 minutes of that episode because it's all about being your best you. Don't let people tell you that you can't be great and all of that. And I admire Oprah for all of the work that she's done in her career. And I would be starstruck around her as well. So that kudos for you to be able to play her husband.
Yeah, it was so cool. She doesn't just talk the talk. She walks the walk in a quiet way. I mean, she wasn't obnoxious. It was just, let's get this work done. Let's do the best we can. So she was genuine, and I was so pleased to see that she had brought her dogs with her. We talked about dogs. We talked about everything. I'm sitting here with Oprah Winfrey. We're sitting in, our chairs, our director's chairs, and we're just chatting. We're just chatting about life. We're not talking about celebrities. We're just chatting about dogs and kids and family and wow. And I'm keep looking. So I have some pictures from there. I think I have one on my IMDb page. I have the picture of the day that. A couple of pictures from the day we worked together. But, she's genuine, man. She's something real special. She's a class act, I'm telling you. She is a class act all the way.
What a great memory. We mentioned theater at the top of the show, and I kind of want to end with that. And I want to talk about directing, because you've not only been on stage, but you've directed productions for the Lower Depth Theater in Los Angeles. So when you think about directing, are there good and bad directors that you've kind of encountered throughout your career, and how much of your methods that you use were learned on set throughout your career?
Well, I have to say, I think actors make some of the best directors. I really do, because they've been in the process. They know the vocabulary. I would say the worst directors for me are they just can't translate to the actor what they want. They can't use the actor's language and vocabulary. Not that, you're supposed to be able to work with anyone, of course, as an actor, and you do. But the better directors are the ones that can speak the actor's language. That's why being steeped in acting before you become a director, or exposing yourself to studying acting, even if it's just a few courses, really makes you sensitive to what an actor's process is. So I have found some of the best directors have acted before. I think being a director has made me a better actor, because I have to be very clear and very specific when I'm trying. Because every actor I work with is different, and you have to find their handles. You have to find. Sometimes you have to show. Sometimes you have to find the right words. It's every actor is different. So it's made me a better actor, since I know the specificity I have to bring other actors. So I love directing. I reached a point in my career where I didn't just need to act anymore. I had already had a good career. I had established career, but there were other things I was interested in, because actors only worry about the role they do. That's what you do. You get hired to do a role. As a director, you're looking at lighting design, set design, visual design, costume design. I mean, you're really looking at a vision to unify all those to tell the story as clear as you can. And that turned me on. Like, wow, I can consider how this sound cue here will make this work, and how this lighting here would make, with designers. I'm working with designers. I'm not a costume visual designer. I'm the director, but working with a crew that way of designers, you have to be you're trying to bring them around to your vision. And you also want to hear what their approach is to it, what my approach might be. I've learned a lot from designers. So yeah, directing for me now is a gas, because it makes me a better actor. I love telling stories. I love the immediacy of being in front of an audience every night. There's a chemistry that, again, film and television is great, but in a theater, a live theater, there's a real chemistry that happens between the audience and the actors on stage. You can feel it. If you've ever been on stage, you can feel their energy. You can feel their interest or lack of interest. You can feel it, and it does influence a performance, or for that evening or that afternoon. So yeah, it's been a good branching out for me to be able to direct, which I'm doing increasingly. I'm doing it a lot now.
And I want to end with this. There's so many negative stories dominating the news this year. So do you have a story of happiness, or maybe something that happened to you, a person maybe that you've met along the way that's made a positive impact on you? Give us some inspirational story, that you've had in your life that's meant a lot.
There's been so many people, but lately I've been an adjunct teacher at, let's say, I could say USC School of Dramatic Arts. They've taken me on and I direct there sometimes. I'm an adjunct professor. And there was one student who was, I know, struggling. He wanted to do it. He was struggling. So he was talented, but just not as sharp as the others. And one day he writes me an email. Now that we finished the semester, he wrote me this email about my believing in him, my pushing him further, how he can see how far he can go now, my being a role model. Now, mind you, this wasn't expected at all. But the fact that I was able to influence someone's life and make them more confident in themselves, and who they were as a human being, forget craft, forget technique, just even if he leaves acting tomorrow, the profession, the fact that he began to understand his own strength as a human being, for me, that was worth any, this may sound silly, but any Academy Award, any Tony Award. But I had a direct influence on someone, and they were able to sort of express that and say, thank you. I'm going to take this with me into life. We have to remember the people we come in contact with, we can leave profound influences on them by a line, a word, by association. We really have that ability. So, make wise choices, but do good stuff. Because you never know who's listening, what they're taking away, and how you might be helping them. You never know.
That's a fantastic message to leave us with. Gregg Daniel, happy Father's Day this weekend. Thanks so much for joining us.
Sir. Happy Father's Day. Enjoy those 8-year-olds, okay? It's been a pleasure.
I will, man. They give me a run for my money sometimes, but I wouldn't have it any other way.
I know you speak the truth. So, well, you have a terrific Father's Day as well.
Thank you, Gregg. Thanks again for your time.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. My pleasure.
My thanks to Gregg Daniel for joining me on the show today. I hope he reinvigorated you with some positive vibes, because that's what happened to me. Now you can go out into your family and your community and do some small things with great love. You know, we can always make a difference in this world. We all have a voice. If we stand together with the common purpose of peace and understanding, we can make some great changes in our neighborhoods and our communities. And there's a lot of dramatic stuff happening all over the United States and the world. I know that, and you do too. People are hurting and suffering, and we never really know who those people are just by looking at them. So my advice is to be kind to everybody. Share a smile, and hope that you leave them a little bit more happy and optimistic than they were before they met you. Well, that's it for me this week. Make sure you subscribe to Fancounters and do me a favor. Leave me a 5-star review on your favorite podcast platform, and you can always email me directly. I'm at hello@fancounters.com. Hope you have a great weekend, everybody. Talk to you next week. Bye-bye.